instead, because Aaron Rodgers' name value and State Farm double check commercials are worth more. We're going to give it to him. And to me, that's not what the award should be about. It should be about the most valuable player, period. Doesn't matter record of team. Doesn't matter what you've done outside the field. Doesn't matter if you're the face of the NFL. Are you the best player on the field right now? And I don't think that the award is given out like that. And that's why I have an issue with it. And if it was one of those things where, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, whoever's just having a great season and they do better than him, fine. Don't let Drew win. He don't deserve to get it as a participation award. I don't believe in participation awards. But when you're omitting a guy from the conversation, he's the only quarterback in the NFL set to hit some of these numbers. He's literally breaking records again. It's just sad to me.
Yeah. Let me throw this question to both of you guys. Should Tom Brady even be mentioned in the race, being that he's coming off suspension? Should that even be a part of the topic? This guy was suspended for fraud in the game. So why would he be considered the most valuable player of the league coming off of a 4-game suspension?
I'll take a stab at it first.
Go ahead.
And I'll say it this way.
You have been muted. To unmute yourself, press the star key twice.
Other than PED use. If it's not PED use, and he could have been suspended for any other thing in the world besides that, and I wouldn't care. The idea of it is he missed 4 games. I don't care if it was a hangnail, a toe injury, or a suspension. You missed 4 games. For that alone, you shouldn't be in the MVP race. You can't be the MVP of the league and miss a quarter of the season. It's almost asinine to even have somebody say that. And the reason is because of what you guys have discussed. It's a popularity contest. They love Bill Belichick. They love Tom Brady. So because you love those guys, you tend to elevate what they do. And, of course, they've earned the right to be elevated in certain cases. They do not earn the right to be elevated when you haven't earned it. It'd be different if Tom Brady, he missed a game or two because, he twisted an ankle, or he had to, leave the second half of a game because he twisted an ankle, and he came back out the next game and he played well. That's a little bit different. But when you're talking about a guy missing 4 games, it almost diminishes what Tom Brady is and could be, because you saw guys like Jimmy Garoppolo come in and win games.
Yeah.
So how do you tell me that this guy is supposed to be the best player in the league when his coach took you and I, put out there on the field, and he still was able to win? I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. It doesn't sit well with me to even have it go that way. So I don't know about him being the MVP. I don't care why he missed 4 games. I care that he did miss 4 games, and because he missed those 4 games, Tom Brady's not the MVP for me. And real quickly before I let Rev go, I want to say this when it comes about the Drew Brees thing. Drew Brees gets insulted every single time the MVP race comes up, because whenever they talk about Drew Brees, the first thing they say, oh, he's a future Hall of Famer. But they never said the words, and he's an MVP quarterback. Like, it's almost like a backhanded compliment when you call him a future Hall of Famer, because you ignore the idea that he's a potential MVP candidate. My apologies for the rant.
Here's my favorite thing that gets brought up. I realize that this is let me preface it like this. What is said that I'm about to talk about does have a legitimate argument in terms of performance in certain areas. And what I'm talking about is, of course, the indoor-outdoor thing. Yeah, Drew Brees and just about every other player in the NFL in terms of passing aren't usually as good outside because air conditioners are different. Barometric pressures are different. Humidity's different. There's a controlled environment in a dome, so obviously there's a little bit better opportunity there for you to pass better in certain games. But guess what? That's for everybody in the NFL. And let's also not pretend like Drew Brees plays in the only dome. Half the teams in this daggone league play in a dome. Everybody's got an equal opportunity to succeed somewhere there. Yeah, they bring up this excuse that apparently Drew isn't as good of a quarterback because he plays half the games in a dome. Well, the last time I checked, just about everybody played either a quarter or a half of their games in the dome because everybody has a daggum dome these days. You've got Atlanta making a dome that's got an opening orifice. I don't want to say what I wanted to say, But, I mean, everybody's got a dome now, and you're trying to hold that against him like it's his fault that he plays for a dome, and like we need to cut his stats in half because apparently the fact that he plays on AstroTurf and 70-degree controlled temperatures with perfect humidity means he's not as good of a quarterback as somebody who plays outside with a 5-mile-per-hour wind. Whoopee. I didn't even talk about Tom Brady. That just irritates me.
It's all about Tom Brady, brother. There aren't any quarterbacks in the NFL besides Tom Brady. Now that Peyton Manning is gone, that's the immediate darling. That's all they have to fall back on.
And look, I don't like Tom Brady, but I have no personal animosity to him. I'm indifferent. Yes, he is a great quarterback. I think that you put Tom Brady on any other team in the NFL, he can still be successful. I really believe that. I do believe he's a system quarterback, but hey, so is Drew Brees. Drew Brees wasn't Drew Brees that he is now when he was in San Diego because the system here is better. I still think Tom has the ability to succeed other places. So I'm not knocking him as an upper echelon, one of the best ever quarterbacks. He's in my top 3 all time. He is. So, and even that's with me not liking him. But like you, I think it's ridiculous that he can miss a quarter of the season, that he can have been suspended for illegal tampering of the game. I mean, I think that for him to be the front runner with stuff like that hanging over his head, I think is unacceptable. I'm so frustrated with the popularity contest, and we even see it going that way because during the offseason, one of the biggest things that NFL Network and .com and all these push and ESPN pushes and puts out their own is these top 100 players in the NFL. And instead of asking like scouts and coaches who they think, they ask normal freaking Cotton-Eye Joes and random players, hey, who do you think's the best guy in the NFL? Like everybody is now officially a scout. I mean, it's like you come up to me and I don't portray myself as this NFL quality scout. I think if I was an NFL quality talent evaluator, I'd be in the NFL right now having a job, but I'm not. I'm a guy who has a podcast, writes articles, and studies film as a hobby. I might know more than the average Joe, but I don't know anything compared to Rex Ryan or Bill Belichick. But yet we go ask these average Joes who should be in the Pro Bowl and who should be the MVP and who's the best player of in the NFL and who wants to be on the Madden cover and all this stuff to sell jerseys and to make money. To me, is not what the NFL is supposed to be about. And that's why I don't think Tom Brady should even be considered for the MVP award, but why I know he's probably going to win it.
The problem that I have with it is that the job of media used to be to report the news. Now it's all about promoting your favorite person.
Mute off.
It's turned into high school. Well, I like Tom Brady, so I'm just gonna get on my platform and I'm gonna speak highly of him day after day after day until one or two things happen. You're either gonna stop liking Tom Brady because I talk about him so much, or you're gonna kind of start to pay attention to him more. And now it's almost subconscious that every time you think MVP, you think Tom Brady, because I've said it so many times. It's second nature for you to believe so, and there are a lot of people out here who are blind sheep. If ESPN said it, it's almost the gospel. Sad, but it's true, and that's all you need. The ESPN hype machine is behind Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. They love those guys. It's not just Tom Brady. Let me stop saying that because I don't want to single those guys out. But as Kyle stated, they have their favorites, and they just basically just pick and choose every now and again what's a guy from their favorites list that they want to promote that week, and they go for it. The Rams have never, under Greg Williams, allowed 49 points from anybody. Yeah. And the Saints went through them like a hot knife through butter. And yet not a single solitary mention about this as far as analysis is concerned. Yes, I understand the Rams as a team weren't expected to do anything. Had the Saints lost, oh my goodness, look at Jeff Fisher. He has rallied the troops, and all of a sudden the Rams are all this, they're a hot team. You got to watch out for them. It's almost nauseating to even listen to at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think because you brought it up, I'll add this on there. The Saints scored 49. The most they had allowed by any other opponent to score was 32 to Tampa in Week 3. And that's with Case Keenum and everybody leading the way. I mean, this team does not give up a lot of points. They beat the Jets 9-0 21-6. They beat the 49ers 28-0. They lost to Miami 14-10. They lost to Carolina 13-10. They don't give up a ton of points. For us to put up 50 basically and it not be mentioned as a big deal that we didn't just demolish a top 10 defense, they might have been top 5 at the time. I really don't remember because I didn't look at the rankings and memorize it like I should have. But, I mean, for them to be at that level and then it not get really talked about, that's insane to me. We're not giving the Saints enough credit. I realize they're not the darlings of the NFL, especially after the whole Bountygate thing that was, remember, thrown out by a federal judge as not having enough evidence, but who listens to judges these days? So they're not the darling childs anymore, so we just ignore that they basically exist. And the only time we ever get, Saints football talked about is when we force them when we make the playoffs.
Well, it's really sad that it's come to this, but it's all about storyline. And the Saints aren't a great storyline right now.
Right.
And that's all it comes down to.
Right.
At one point in time, the Saints were a great story to write about.
Yeah.
And because they were a story and you could follow something, and honestly, it had nothing to do with the Saints. It had everything to do with every media outlet wanting to cash in on the Hurricane Katrina Chronicles.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it was almost like, well, the Saints are going on this magical run. This is why people from other cities believe the Saints winning the Super Bowl was rigged. Because the media told you the Saints went on this magical run after Katrina. Newsflash, for all those that don't know. Katrina happened in 2005. The Saints did not win the Super Bowl until 2010 to be exact, but it was the 2009 season.
Yep.
It was 4 years after Katrina. Can we please stop trying to tie those two things together? That's the first thing I have to say. Secondly, what I would love to point out, since everybody wanted to cash in on the Katrina Chronicles, the city is slightly starting to rebuild and bounce back 10 years later. But the Saints are who they are under Sean Payton, and they basically hit the golden era of Saints football. But because you can't cash in on it right now, because the last time the media even mentioned the New Orleans Saints, the 10-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, the Steve Gleason block punt. Can we please get over it already? The people in New Orleans have moved on. It's time for you to stop trying to cash in on our story. Yeah. And for any other national media outlet that wants to know anything about Hurricane Katrina, find Google.
Well, Brian, I don't want to be a negative ninny, but let's be for real. Until this team becomes more consistent, performs at the level they're capable of performing, we're always going to have that inconsistent reporting by the national media. It's up to that team under the leadership of Loomis as well as Peyton to be able to get it together. And the reason why we're hearing more about the Tom Brady's is the consistency in the leadership that he reports to in Bill Belichick. I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl. We have no idea. We don't have any idea who will be in it. But as the odds makers have put it, the favorites are the New England Patriots. We're nowhere in contention. I think the last time I saw the odds, we were up to, 7% now and making the Super Bowl. So I just think the talent that we have and what we can be able to build up upon, I'm not sure this is a Super Bowl caliber team. I would love to see them there, but I'm not sure. Yeah. But if they ever get there, I think next year would be a great time to say this team could be able to erase all of the negative writings from media.
Yeah. I think my only thing with that is, just to kind of piggyback on Brian's point, is even when we were consistent, like I would call to me 2006 to 2011 5 years of consistency with one, a couple hiccups. Because when you go to the NFC Championship game, win a Super Bowl, and had it not been for a couple of amazing plays in San Francisco, won another Super Bowl, that's a consistency for winning. Because let's be real. What have the Green Bay Packers done to deserve and Aaron Rodgers done to deserve to be the poster child? They had one good year. McCarthy is currently being talked about as being on the hot seat and losing his daggum job. Yet Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are still golden childs of the NFL.
You're
so
right.
That's why I think it's a little bit more than just a consistency issue. I do realize that the Packers have a history of being good. They won the first Super Bowl. Favre